Hey guys, it's Graham. What's crackin'? Disney is once again in the news for their many bad corporate decisions. But this video is not about their movies, it is about the theme park. Splash Mountain is being decommissioned and torn apart. And they say that they've been planning it for a long time. They want to base the ride on their very popular Princess and the Frog movie, which I still haven't seen, couldn't tell you anything about, other than it's about a princess and a frog. They're trying to move away, as they have been for a long time, from the 1946 movie Song of the South, which is the Brer Rabbit, Brer Fox, Brer Bear, Uncle Remus movie that the Zippity Doo-Dah song comes from. A couple of years ago, I did an article on DreadPennies.com about Song of the South. I'd read a book about it. I'd also grabbed a complimentary copy of it off of the internet, off of the kindness of strangers, as it were. And as I said in the article, which I'll link to in the video description, the movie's not great, it's not bad, it's kind of boring, but it was groundbreaking in its time because, in the 40s it wasn't popular to put black characters and black lore into mainstream entertainment, which is what Disney was for the most part. It got mainstream distribution and attention, and here's this story that, while the main character was a little kid who was a white boy, he was on a plantation in the South. The time period, the period itself, is generally around the Civil War. It's not exactly clear whether it's antebellum or postbellum, but it's at a time when the controversy around ending the practice of slavery was going on. The kid's dad was a writer for the papers in Atlanta. It never really gets into the specifics about what he's writing, but it's controversial. People don't like what he's writing. One could assume, therefore, then that it was anti-slavery because Georgia was a slave state. But this kid goes in and lives on the farm, and you just get a picture of what plantation life was accurately like in the late 1800s in North America, namely that the white people lived in the house and the black people didn't. They did work and stuff. It didn't show any depictions of them being beaten or denigrated or anything. There was an historically accurate social order, but it was still amiable. People were kind to each other. They shared stories, they shared food. It was a glimpse into that time period, and it was portrayed very well. Floyd Norman, who was the first black animator hired at Disney, I think I erroneously said that he worked on Song of the South. He didn't. He was born in 1935. He was only 11 when that movie came out. He did work on movies later like The Jungle Book and I think 101 Dalmatians, so some of those mid-century animated flicks. But he's been an advocate for keeping Song of the South in the popular conscious because of its historical relevance and the fact that it was, here's this cartoon depicting, African American lore, specifically derived from the Yoruba nation of Nigeria. That's where the whole Briar Patch, Brer Rabbit, all that stuff comes from. He's wanted to keep that going. But, Disney, in its attempt to be not racist, is becoming exceedingly racist in that Jeff Winger sort of way. Not being racist is the new racist. They refuse to re-release it, and they want nothing to do with this historically significant, positive animated feature. And, I can't help noticing, not that I like to play this game, but here's the game, so let's go ahead and play it. It is a bunch of powerful, rich, white people telling this pioneering black artist, no, we're not going to release this thing that you want, this thing that you like. Here's instead a reboot of The Proud Family, spewing anti-historical crap that can foment racism in the 21st century. But I digress. I don't know what the future holds for Disney. I assume it's going to keep being bad and possibly even get worse before it gets better, both in terms of their financial returns as well as the quality of the content that they generate, because they are driven by ideological and not artistic reasons, values, purposes, what have you. But there are books that you can read in the meantime that go into the history of Disney's practices, both in a creative sense and in a corporate sense. There's this one right here by Jim Korkis, I believe is his name. It's called Who's Afraid of the Song of the South. It talks, specifically about the Song of the South. That's the main essay. But there are also other essays about, former animated products from Disney that are now locked in the so-called vault that the corporation would not only prefer never saw the light of day, they don't even want people to know about them. And this is stuff that actually is creatively, historically problematic for Disney, and I could understand them wanting to distance themselves from something that would cause them trouble if they were to embrace it. Song of the South doesn't fall under that umbrella. And this is relevant to Floyd Norman because he ended up writing the foreword to this book by Corcus. Now, Corcus is somewhat of a Disney historian. He's written a couple of books in this vein. This one in particular, I think, is the most comprehensive. You can find copies of it on Amazon. You might have to make a special request through your library to get a copy there. It doesn't enjoy wide circulation. But I read it a couple of years ago, and it's really good. It's very interesting to get a full and robust view of the history of this company and its relation with corporate creative art. On Amazon, you can also find some of Floyd Norman's books. Most of them are about the craft and the history of animation. He even wrote one a couple of years ago called How the Grinch Stole Disney. Strangely, that one is not available in any format, not even used. I found one copy on eBay that's autographed by Floyd Norman, which would be awesome to have, but it's about $100, so that puts it out of my price range. Speaking of price range, if you want to support me and support the channel, check out crackerstack.substack.com. Yes, I've got a Substack. It's where I'm posting some of my longer form book reviews and even doing some exclusive content for paid subscribers, of which there are, gratefully, a few. So there's a month-to-month option. There's also a pay for the entire year upfront option. You can save a couple of months worth of subscription with that, and it'll give you access to all the stuff that goes behind the paywall. Plus, getting some of that monthly subscription money helps me to get more books, improve the channel with better tech, and so on and so forth. Thanks everybody for watching. Drive safe. See you out there.